Hello and welcome to the Soulful of It podcast, where the cosmos meet the cards and the mundane becomes magical. I'm your guide, 𝗧𝗶𝗰𝗀 𝗧𝗶𝗰𝗀, and in this episode, we'll cover the astrological transits and tarot for the second half of March 2025. Now, let's fill your cup up until you're soul full of it. We're splitting the transits and tarot episode into two. Katie, it is so great to have you back.
Thank you for having me, Carrie.
Let's tap the tarot and chat about the cards that we pulled for the second half of March to jump right into it. Katie, can you talk us through the tarot from March 15th until March 31st?
Yes, I can. So for the center, the wisdom, the rose, we have the Emperor, which is perfect for Aries season. The Emperor is all about stepping into our power, taking command of our destiny. So in the card, a description of it, of a bearded man sitting on a throne with 4 ram heads, the Aries symbol. He wears a red robe representing action and power and a crown representing authority. He holds an ankh in one hand, symbol of life, and an orb in the other, symbol of material world. The mountains behind him represent strength and stability. And in another card that I have, it actually shows the Emperor as a goat on top of the mountain, which I feel like that makes me think this part of the month we're going to be the motherfucking goat, the greatest of all time. We're going to get to the top of that mountain. And then next we have the Wheel of Fortune as the cross, the attention, the thorns. So the Wheel of Fortune, it's actually one of my birth cards.
Yes, it is.
So I really love this card. Definitely makes me think of the eclipse vibes here. Large golden wheel surrounded by 4 creatures. We have the lion, the eagle, the bull, and an angel, representing the fixed zodiac signs, Leo, Scorpio, Taurus, and Aquarius. The snake is the energy descending. You're the snake. Anubis, cycle of life, and a sphinx, which we had the sphinx in the chariot before. So there's kind of a connection here. The sphinx with wisdom appearing around the wheel. The wheel appears to be floating in the sky, ever spinning. So like I said, eclipse energy having to do with fate, cycles, unexpected changes. The wheel keeps turning. Big wheels keep on turning.
Oh,
Sorry.
yes.
Whether we're ready or not. And next we have the world, which makes me think of that we're in a 9-year and just closing of chapters. So with the world, it's the root, the base position. We have a dancing figure surrounded by a wreath symbolizing completion. The same 4 creatures on the Wheel of Fortune appear, representing cosmic harmony. The figure is dancing naked and free, celebrating the culmination of a long journey. Completion, mastery, stepping into a new era. The wreath represents the infinite cycle of life. One chapter ends, another begins. And our above the guiding position, the Fool. I love this card so much, and it's really just been coming up in my personal readings as well. And so I'm glad that it came up with this. So, young traveler dressed in colorful clothing carries a small stack over his shoulder. The white dog at his feet symbolizing loyalty and instinct. He's about to step off a cliff into the unknown. The sun shines bright in the sky, illuminating his path. This card is all about new beginnings. It is number 0. And what I love about this card, it makes me just think that dare to take the leap because the universe will catch you. And then after the world is the final card. And then we have the Fool. And so it just seems like a lot of these cards have a lot of connections, even just with the past reading too. So they really just flow into each other. And I'm really excited to dive into them more with all the transits on this episode.
Absolutely. They are really reflective of the Pisces to Aries shift that we're starting this episode out at. Because right now at mid-month of March, the sun is still in Pisces, but not for much longer. It's going to be moving into Aries, which we'll be talking about. And I think something that shows up for me with this reading is the connection between the Wheel of Fortune and the world, that you have to take a chance in order to allow endings to become beginnings and vice versa. And then with the Emperor and the Fool, no one becomes an emperor without first being a fool. And the reality is, if you are stepping into your Emperor energy of like, look, I know what the fuck I'm doing and where I'm going, or look, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing or where I'm going, but I'm going to do it with my full chest. With that energy.
Hell yeah.
That very Aries, let's go. Like,
let's fucking go.
People are going to perceive you as a fool in part of that. And I think that comes up too when you're reaching for really big dreams and things that you want. And we've talked about this a lot outside of the podcast, that you got to be picky and choosy about who you tell about your big dreams or the things that you're up to behind the scenes, because
The evil eye is real.
and not everybody's going to buy into your dream because it's not theirs. It's not theirs to validate either. You don't need permission from anyone else to go do what you want to do and be who you want to be and continually evolve and become the next best version of yourself, while also holding the capacity of like, look, it's okay if I'm a fool right now. It's okay if I'm learning right now. It's okay if I'm making mistakes as I'm getting going. I'm going to sit in that fucking throne. I'm going to be that emperor.
They think I'm a fool now, but just wait till I'm at the top of that mountain.
And then they're begging to have me throw a rope down so that they can get up here. And I might say climb.
They're going to ask how you did it. It's like, while you were all thinking I was a fool, I was making money moves.
That's right. I was hustling, and sometimes that was me running full speed, and other times I was crawling. But I got here.
And also with the part 1, all the retrogrades making us rethink and reconsider, who are we taking to the top of the mountain? Because not everyone can go to the top of the mountain with us. And the fool, a small little, not even backpack,
He just got 1 day lunch in there.
only taking the essentials.
Yes, only taking what matters. And with that little dog down to the side of the fool, another interpretation of this that I really love for the fool card in particular is that the dog sometimes can symbolize, it can be your loyal companion that's like 100% in the bitch to jump with you off the cliff and figure out where it goes. And the other side of that is that it could represent those in your life who are barking at you to say, wait, no, that's too big of a dream. Wait, no, you don't know where you're going. Like, what if you just eat this fear, eat this doubt, which people do because they love you. It's not only just because they're like, oh, I don't want them to get too far ahead of me or whatever.
I don't know who said it, but they said, don't take advice unless it's someone that you actually want to be living the life that they have. Why would you get advice from someone if they're in a place that you don't want to be?
That's so important, especially with this eclipse energy. And like you said, the retrogrades, those are still very, very present right now. We are still in the retrograde of Venus and Mercury, and we are still integrating the Mars retrograde, even though Mars is direct.
The Fool also has the rose, the white rose, and that's with the death card too. And so with the eclipse energy, what is dying? Like death leading to rebirth and death leading to new beginnings. So just wanted to add that last thing in there before we move on. I could talk about the Fool all day.
We could talk about all these cards all day, and maybe we will in the next episode. But for now, let's jump into the transits, starting out with Happy Spring Equinox on March 20th. It's also Aries season, in my personal favorite way of acknowledging the sun entering Aries. Happy astrological new year.
Oh my God, it's 222 right now.
While
And
we're recording
on 222. Oh my God, I just had to say something.
Love that. So 222, many reasons not to celebrate. It is a time to take up space with the sun in Aries. We want to get started on the goals that we set with the new year, or that we wanted to set with the new year. Maybe at that time they didn't really feel very possible, but now the tides have changed. Now the sun is in Aries. It is the astrological new year. Aries season is a time of renewal and beginnings.
I'm so excited for Aries season. I have been waiting for this for so long, feeling just the Pisces energy. And when the Mars was in Cancer, obviously I have my Mars in Cancer, but I'm ready for that fire energy.
Absolutely, because it feels like this is when the new year really begins. And right after we have the sun moving into Aries, on the 22nd, we have Venus cazimi. So Venus is aligning with the sun.
Yeah, the Venus cazimi is when it's in the heart of the sun. Venus is in the heart of the sun. Amplified moment of insight regarding, like you said, relationships, self-worth, and also finances. Venus rules finances and what we value. And Aries is bold, passionate, independent. So this cazimi is about fearless love, not for others, but for yourself. Knowing your worth, going after what you desire. You might suddenly realize what you want or what you don't want. It's about owning your worth and refusing to settle. And I love this energy.
That is such Emperor energy, to know what you're worth and to charge tax on that as well, because it's okay for you to take up space. In fact, you're supposed to take up space here on planet Earth.
If someone or some place can't see you and see your value and your worth, you're in the wrong place. If a door won't open, it's the wrong door.
That's right. And maybe you need to crawl through a window instead anyways. We are in the eclipse portal. This is where change happens.
I love that.
Me too. So following that, on March 27th, we've got Venus retrograde, re-entering Pisces like we were talking about. And on that same day, we also have Venus in a conjunction with Neptune at the same time. So there's some blurred lines going on between the Venus-Neptune conjunction, and then Venus re-entering Pisces is bringing us from that Aries, what about me energy into the oneness of like, what about others, with the perspective of also meeting my own needs. We can have some opposite sign of Aries is Libra energy here, where we can balance the scales. And I think that's kind of the wisdom that's coming through for me with the Venus re-entering Pisces on the same day that it's going to have that quick conjunction with Neptune. And Neptune's getting ready. We're going to talk about that here soon, but Neptune is at that very end degree.
Yeah, and with Venus re-entering Pisces, it's a time to reevaluate our relationships as we've been doing. But what beliefs do you hold about love and relationships? Are those beliefs serving you, or do they come from past wounds? Do you believe you're worthy of love, support, and understanding? And if not, what makes you doubt your worthiness? Anything that's being maintained through force is going to be dismantled. Focus less on the action we're taking in relationships and focus on the intention we're setting with pursuing connection with others. If love is always an external thing we're chasing, then it will always run away from us. Love is a state of being to tap into and embody.
Yeah, to have that intention, not only the action. And it's hard because with the action energy of Aries, it feels like, oh, I need to do something about it. But what if you just be with it? So another thing that we've got going on the 27th of March is about Black Moon Lilith. So what's going on with Black Moon Lilith at the end of March, Katie?
Yes, I love Lilith. Lilith is moving into Scorpio, and the last time she was in Scorpio was 2016. She represents the dark feminine within us. She has a lot to do with where we're shunned, where people want to take our power away and keep us feeling small. And if you're not in your power, you're going to believe them. This placement is about being able to handle the depths of darkness and transmute it and thrive. Very mystical, very intuitive, and you can see past the illusions. Lilith is a truth teller, exposing what needs to be exposed. People deserve to know the truth so they can properly move forward. And when you're in your power, you encourage others to do that. And this actually makes me think of Kendrick Lamar.
Ooh.
So this is super niche, but I will see when people break down celebrities' astrological charts, and he is a Gemini sun, and he has his Mars in Cancer. And he is someone where he tries to educate. It's not to entertain, it's to educate. And if you look up the breakdown of his Super Bowl performance, I'm not going to do it for you, but go do your research. It's actually quite fascinating. And he is trying to expose the lies. And I just love Lilith because it's just tuning in to that powerful side of yourself and just transmuting and not taking any shit.
Yeah. Take no shit. Take no names.
Standing on business, because he had a beef with Drake, which it's just a silly beef or whatever. But I mean, Drake's a shitty person. So I kind of like that he called him out, fucking pedophile. But anyway, when I listen about Kendrick Lamar, a lot of people are like, you know what? I'm not being enough of a hater. Maybe I should actually stand on business and tune into that. And a lot of people saying, you know, Mars and Cancer is a bad placement, or with Lilith, the things that people might shun about you or say like, oh, I don't like that, or you should like ignore that part of yourself. Actually, let me tune into the parts of myself that I hide in the shadows, or that I disregard, or that other people talk shit on, because guess what? Maybe when I tune into that and transmute it, I'm going to win 5 Grammys.
I mean, that's exactly what he did. So there is wisdom in that for sure.
And I encourage anyone listening to look up your Lilith placement and see where your dark feminine power lies. Even if you're a masculine listening to this, you still have a Lilith placement.
Yes, we all do. And I love that. So as we're getting closer to the end of the month, on March 29th, we have Mercury, of course, retrograde is going to re-enter Pisces. And we also have the solar eclipse, which is going to be at 9 degrees Aries. And something that I thought was really interesting to highlight about this eclipse in Aries, first off, it is our last eclipse in Aries for a long time, many, many years. So we are closing out that Aries Libra eclipse cycle. And this is an opportunity to reap the benefits of that and alchemize the things that we learned in the process. But another thing that I think is really interesting is that this eclipse is happening at 9 degrees Aries. And here is a quick rundown of the last new moons that we had leading up to this eclipse. On November 1st of 2024, we had the new moon in Scorpio, 9 degrees. On November 30th, 2024, we had the new moon in Sagittarius at 9 degrees. On December 30th of 2024, we had the new moon in Capricorn at 9 degrees. Are you seeing a theme here? January 29th, 2025, new moon in Aquarius, 9 degrees. Last month, February 27th, 2025, the new moon in Pisces, you guessed it, was also at 9 degrees. The last 5 new moons that led up to this supercharged new moon, solar eclipse in Aries, all of them were at 9 degrees. And I just haven't seen that.
That's really interesting because we're also in a 9 year.
Yes, we are. It's a hermit year. It's the 9th card of the major arcana.
Well, and it makes me think of Sagittarius energy, right? And you're a Sagittarius.
Yes, I am. Sagittarius is the 9th sign of the zodiac, and it rules the 9th house of your chart, which is all about education and learning and beliefs. And the 9 comes before the 10, right? In tarot, when we're looking at the minor cards we're leading up to. So we're not complete yet, but we're getting there. There's been this building theme of not there yet, but close, not there yet, but close. And that is very true for this Aries eclipse, that we're not there yet, but we're close. We have been readying ourselves for the gifts that come from this eclipse season that are getting ready to manifest into the physical realm.
Well, the wheel's turning, and with the World card, it's the completion of a cycle, and then the Fool, we're jumping into the new reality. And I know this card was in the part 1, but the Chariot, in another deck that I have, it actually shows a unicorn galloping into the distance, and Sagittarius is half man, half horse. And so it just made me also think of the Chariot card from before, the moving from part 1, part 2, from the beginning of the month to the end of the month, charging into our new life, into our new destiny. And it's a powerful turning point. It's really faded, new beginnings, destiny timeline shifts, and it's wildcard energy. Things can unfold quickly, sudden beginnings, endings, and just trusting your bigger purpose.
Yes, absolutely. And it's not like a really strong aspect because it's about 6 degrees off. But this new moon does have a sextile being formed with Pluto, which of course is in Aquarius at this point. And I feel like that is also encouraging us to call in our power of renewal, our power of taking up space, these themes of the Emperor, that if you step into your power, that endings are going to come about, because when you step into the spotlight of your life, when you sit on the throne of your life, some folks are going to be totally down with that and some aren't, and that's okay. They might not be in the next chapter of your life or the next book, or maybe you'll catch them when you reincarnate, or maybe you won't. That's okay. So I think this eclipse is going to feel sudden, just like every eclipse does, with change, but hopeful. And I think that's so important right now as the world is going through so much just sudden upheaval, to hold on to hope. That rose in the hand of the Fool as a memory that, yes, the death card you brought up earlier in the episode, sure, this is reminiscent of that. But when something dies, it creates space for something new to take root.
And when you take the leap, I think I already said this, but I'm going to say it again. Trust that the universe will catch you.
It's a trust fall.
I love that.
So closing out the month, we have one last transit to touch on. And this one is really important. On March 30th, we have Neptune entering Aries. Now, Neptune rules dreams, spirituality, intuition, substances, fragrances, art, music, television, and movies, just to name a few of the associations with Neptune. And Neptune in your birth chart represents where you seek ideals and where you can be fooled, as well as fool or deceive others. Neptune is known as the great dissolver because, like its ruling sign of Pisces, it is boundaryless. And Neptune transits can bring inspiration or visions of the future. It can also bring about confusion, escapism, addiction, and illusions where things and people may not be quite as they seem. Neptune takes 165 years to transit through all 12 signs of the zodiac. So it spends about 14 years in each sign. And Neptune has been in Pisces, its rulership sign, since April of 2011. Due to the retrograde that it's going to have later this year, it will re-enter Pisces in October. So we're not completely done with this energy of Neptune and Pisces quite yet. But in 2026, we will be fully immersed in the Neptune and Aries cycle. And this right now, what we've got going on here between the end of March and October, that is a preview period. That is a preview period of what's to come when Neptune is only in Aries moving forward in 2026. But the last time that we had Neptune in Aries was between 1861 and 1874. If you're a history buff, those dates probably stand out to you because that was when the American Civil War took place, which was between 1861 and 1865. I know that that might not come as a comforting piece of knowledge because it was a war, and yet it's also true that history does tend to repeat itself, and planetary cycles are just that. They're cyclical, and it's undeniable that the United States of America is incredibly divided right now, and one of the key issues that we're facing still is racism, and that is exactly what the American Civil War was all about. For those who don't remember, the southern states, also known as the Confederacy, wanted to keep slavery going under the premise of, quote, states' rights, whereas the northern states, also known as the Union, wanted to build a future where slavery was abolished. The bad news is that it took a war for slavery to end. But here's the Neptunian perspective of it all. Did we end slavery really? Or did it just shapeshift? We still have for-profit prisons, which make money on those locked up within their walls. We also have our dictator-in-chief sending what he calls illegal migrants to Guantanamo Bay, which is sounding more like a concentration camp than anything. So clearly, we still have a lot to learn since the last time that Neptune was in Aries. And if we can identify patterns, then we can break them. And to me, this is in our lives, the call to action. It is time to take compassionate action and embody the energy of an inspired, which is Neptune, activist, which is Aries. The reality is that the world we all want to live in doesn't exist yet because we are here to create it. As Neptune moves through Aries until 2039, we will have opportunities to fight for what we believe in. So the best advice I have for us at this time is to get clear about what it is that we believe in and why. To be courageous enough to confront our own biases and embrace oneness, which is a lesson of Neptune and Pisces that we can all leverage to help us help each other and ultimately help us all build a better world and not one that's full of all this MAGA bullshit. Because let's be honest, America was never that great. But what if it was? What would that look like? Now is the time to dream big, but don't fall asleep because your dreams do require action in order to manifest into reality, which I think is a theme between the part 1 episode that we talked about and this part 2 episode. Dream the big dream, but then also wake up and do something about it.
Thank you for the call out on that. That's a long transit. It's been a while since Neptune has been in Aries.
Yeah, many, many, many moons.
When I just think of the people being born, like the babies being born with this transit and inspiring spiritual warriors, people who want to fight for a cause, lead movements, and turn visions into reality. And I believe with this time, a rise in spiritual activism, pioneering creativity, fearless self-expression, and Neptune in Aries is burning away the illusions. People will be less patient with false gurus, spiritual bypassing, and deceptive ideals. And this transit is here to collapse old belief systems or institutions that no longer serve our progress.
Yes, I think we're going to see that people that were thriving in the Neptune and Pisces era may not be doing as well in the Neptune and Aries energy. And that's okay. In fact, that might be necessary. I like what you mentioned about idols. There's a lot of false idols out there. There's a lot of idolizing of celebrities and folks like that. And something that's coming out right now a lot is de-influencing. Have you seen that trend about like, let's de-influence this? And instead of showing you the curated home that I've kept up with all the trends, it's like, here's a pile of fucking laundry in the corner. And actually my kitchen's really messy. And now I'm going to try to clean it up. Like, to me, that's so much more real and authentic. It's pulling back the veil. And I think the Neptune and Pisces, in some ways, it was feeding into like the dream and the illusion of like seeing what you want to see, where Neptune and Aries is like, no, I don't think I'm going to buy that.
I've seen a lot of people talking about, let's stop following celebrities or block them and don't give them that attention. They're famous for what? Like, what are they actually bringing to the table? Like, what good are they actually doing in the world? And when you actually break it down, not too much, and people in power, it's like, how did they get there? Through a bunch of illusions and smoke and mirrors?
Yeah, if it sounds like it's too good to be true, maybe it is. And a lot of Americans are finding that out right now, depending on who and what they voted for back in 2024. We're starting to see that not everything is as it seems. And that will be more apparent as Neptune moves through Aries. We're going to wake up a lot more. And then when it moves back into Pisces, we can finish up the lessons that we learned from those last 14 years to ready ourselves to embody that Martian Aries energy of being a warrior and saying, hey, this is my dream and I'm going to go for it. I'm going to be the emperor. And it's okay if you think I'm a fool. I can both be in my power and learning and figuring out what my power is. And I always think with Aries energy and Pisces energy, to me, the difference is Pisces is find and follow what flows. Find and follow what flows. On the flip side of that, we move into Aries and it's fuck around and find out. Start fresh. Do something new. Try it out. See if you like it. If you don't, burn it off. It's cardinal fire. And then move into the next thing.
If you got to burn it to the ground, then let it burn.
Let it burn.
The last thing I think of is AI and fake news, and how now when you look at something online, is that real or is that AI? And it's getting a lot harder to tell. It used to be, oh, an old person, they can't tell the difference. But I'm a millennial. I'll be able to tell the difference. And now someone's like, that's AI. I'm like, wait. And then I look and I'm like, oh my God, that's AI. And also, just fake news and what's real and what's not. And with the Neptune and Aries, I think it's more going to be, that's not real. I don't believe in that. That's not true. And calling it out versus just the blurred lines of what's real and what's not.
Yeah, prove it. Can you prove it? Do you have any evidence to back that up? I love everything you shared. I think that this whole month of March is alchemy in action. We are all going to leave this month different than how we entered it. And that is how it's supposed to be. That is to our benefit if we are not going to be in resistance. So I think that to me is the biggest piece of wisdom as you're moving through this month, as you're experiencing these eclipses, as you're coming out of the eclipse portal, keeping in mind that eclipse events don't only happen on the day of the eclipse. They don't only happen in the 2 weeks between the eclipses. Eclipses are in effect for up to 6 months after the eclipse occurs. So if you're thinking, well, it's been pretty boring over here, business as usual, like, I don't know, these eclipses, sure. If that's the peaceful experience you're having, first off, congratulations, okay? Because a lot of us are being thrown around here and there, and it's really intense. But just you wait, because it might take a couple months or a couple weeks or half a year for you to really see what was seeded in the eclipse time that is completely changing things in your world later on. Because this is a new eclipse cycle too. So we're saying goodbye to that Aries eclipse energy, which is very potent, as we're going to have these planets moving into Aries. And Neptune kickstarts that.
And if you have a dream, what actions are you taking? Instead of just all talk, oh, I'm going to do this, I want to do that. It's great to dream, but it's time to put it into practice and step into your power and make that shit happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for everything that you shared, and to our listeners for being along for the ride. And we look forward to connecting with you in the next episode. And as always, if you enjoyed this, please remember to share it out with your people and go give us a 5-star rating. It's always helpful for the podcast. And we'll catch you guys in the month of April.
I hope everyone has a wonderful April.
Yes, the spring has sprung. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Ciao.